that's out there on the internet today regarding Planet X. We have been researching in this field of space threats since 1999. And what we see is that much of this FUD is artificially engineered by disinformation operatives who, in our opinion, are well organized and very well funded. Another question we do get from folks is, what would a Planet X flyby look like? In our February 2009 video report, we offered 8 different flyby scenarios, ranging from a rather mild best-case scenario to a devastating worst-case scenario. However, regardless of which of these scenarios may come to pass, we have already seen what a Planet X flyby will look like in part. September 2009 shall be forever remembered as the month we added a new term to the lexicon of catastrophic Earth changes: the Sydney-style dust storm. On September 22nd, Sydney, Australia, and its adjacent communities were blanketed with dust from the red soil blown in from the western regions of the country. As you can see in this comparative of the Sydney Opera House, the clear, beautiful blue skies of this modern city were choked with a blinding red dust that blocked visibility. It forced the young, aged, and infirmed to remain indoors, while the many commuter ferries that crisscross Sydney's bay each day with work-bound commuters were forced to remain idle at moorings. This storm was first brought to our attention by a Yowza subscriber, Sharon, who lives in a bedroom community adjacent to Sydney, due east of the city center. She sent us these photos she took from her home, looking out her bedroom window. No matter what scenario is involved for Planet X, this is one of the things we'll see with each and every one. Ladies and gentlemen, Planet X, 2012, and catastrophic Earth changes are no longer an issue of idle speculation or entertainment. Rather, it is about you, your loved ones, and whether or not you choose to fight for your lives. If you're looking to our leaders for answers, know this: they're part of a system of political and corporate elites with their own agendas that may or may not coincide with our own. Nonetheless, these very different agendas provided us with valuable new information in 2008 and 2009 that corroborates our original Planet X orbital forecast. We saw the onset of a massive disinformation campaign, and the goal of this campaign was to lead people down unproductive rabbit holes so that they would become discouraged and leave the topic. Well, it's not working for them. And in fact, what we did find was rather valuable information. To understand that, we need to start with their principal attack method, what we call the ecliptic false positives. The best way to visualize the ecliptic is to start at a point in the center of the sun and then go out in a flat plane from there through the known planets and moons of our solar system, and finally on out to the 12 constellations of the zodiac. This is what we call the ecliptic, the plane of our solar system. Above the ecliptic are the northern skies. Below the ecliptic are the southern skies. For the purpose of this program, we need to replace the designations of east and west, so to speak, with towards the center of our solar system and out to the edge of the solar system. The ecliptic is an important concept for understanding where Planet X is presently in relationship to our sun and to using these ecliptic false positives. The first ecliptic false positive surfaced in early 2008 with the missing Orion star panels, as reported by YouTuber No Star Panel on our site. Powerful disinformation groups had managed to corrupt the celestial databases of 3 major sky viewing websites. The purpose was to mislead the public by falsely drawing their attention with planted information along the ecliptic and out beyond the edge of our solar system. Towards late 2008, this scam sputtered out, and disinformation wolf packs began pushing people in the opposite direction, towards the center of our solar system, with a new scam. We call them the bogus cell phone sundog photos and Soho red herrings. By early 2009, the public began catching on to these scams, and citizen journalists on YouTube began debunking them. We cannot begin to tell you how pleased we were to see this. It reminds us of that great quote from the American President Abraham Lincoln. You can fool all of the people some of the time, and some of the people all of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not sheeple, and you're not buying these disinformation scams, and the operatives and those who employ them know it. Consequently, we're now seeing a new wave of reckless disinformation and propaganda non-event predictions designed to create more fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and thereby disinterest the public. So beware. That being said, these disinformation ecliptic false positives we've just discussed have given us information of great value. It is because now we know where not to look for Planet X at this time. Rather, we need to keep looking where we have always looked, towards the southern skies. Not just because this is the very part of the sky disinformation wolf packs want to turn us away from, but also this is because where the available science we're reporting on our site continues to point. So with all this in mind, let's see if we can cut through this malevolent fog and take a look at where we believe Planet X could have been in September 2009. What the disinformation, ecliptic false positives of 2008 and 2009 show us is that we were pretty much on the money right from the get-go. We published our book, Planet X Forecast and 2012 Survival Guide, with an estimated orbit for Planet X through 2014. Prepared by Dutch physicist Jaco van der Warp, it shows Planet X approaching the core of our system from the south. We will present two slides prepared as an update for this report by Jaco van der Warp, showing where he estimates Planet X to be as of September 2009. Please note, I will be using the term astronomical unit, or AU for short. An astronomical unit is the approximate distance from the Earth to the Sun. For example, the Earth orbits the Sun at a distance of 1 AU. Jupiter, on the other hand, orbits the Sun at a distance of 5.2 AU. Or in other words, it is 5 times further away from the Sun than the Earth. Now let's take a look at our first slide. In this slide, you can see the orbital path of Planet X, which is steeply inclined to the ecliptic. Jaco currently estimates the distance between Planet X and the Sun to be 9.9 astronomical units. Now let's imagine we're standing on the South Pole. Here is slide number 2. Here we're looking above the horizon at an angle of approximately 60 degrees, and Planet X is in the constellation Pictor. Now let's address the 5 reasons why we're not seeing Planet X at this time.
Obvious what you're seeing here, okay? It could be a double pane, it could be all kinds of different things, but listen to this testimony from, I'm not going to say where, because I don't want the possibility of this person getting in trouble, okay? But let's just say this is a customer service individual in the eastern part of the United States, and they're working in a hotel, and they had a conversation with a former government official who's transitioning to a new job in DC and was blown through the hotel, and this is the hotel manager who wrote to me, okay? Well, to make a long story short, they hit it off. like many people that work in the hotel services industry, they're really good at getting people to talk and to share their lives story. And they started talking about the weather, and then this individual, the hotel manager, and then this former government official that's moving into a new government job in D.C. told him all kinds of things that they found out and what he was cleared to know. He said he had talked to colonels, NSA officials, and even chemtrail pilots, who get paid as much as Air Force One pilots, by the way, and how they know about the stellar cores by the sun. Right? He knew exactly what they were and how they make connections to the sun and how the government is hiding it. He said that his new job is very important, and if it did hit the fan, they're going to go into an armory where they'll be behind gates and guards. There's so much more that this guy's telling me. I'm going to talk to this individual more about this encounter that they had with a former, or now going into a new job, government official, that they could confirm, in this personal conversation and dialogue what they knew, but they're hiding it, and they're worried about possible outcomes, as you might imagine, right? So just let this picture fit with that testimony. Let's take it now. I want to take you over to some pictures that I got. Anyway, so here it is. More evidence of an object near the sun, of an object or parts of a lens array concealing the object. And but this one is interesting, guys, for an obvious reason. If you've been around this community very long, you know that the red thing with a hole in it is something that we look at quite a bit. And this is a corroborating photograph here from yesterday, what we saw in FAA cams. So we see this kind of oval-shaped object all the time, and we certainly see this red orb with a hole in it. And yeah, come on, guys, lens flare, really? Honestly, man, do you really think that you're effective when you come in here and say that this is a lens flare? Whatever. Next picture I wanted to take you to, and this is something that we've been observing quite a bit in Australia. This happened last spring as well, and I'm going to take you guys to some... we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But anyway, we got this huge shadow that we've seen in Bondi Beach, Australia now for 2 years that happens around this time of the year in the spring. And at the same time in Macquarie Island, Australia, same approximate time, we got a huge shadow there as well. So again, this is something that's cyclical. It happens in the spring. And we're going to talk about the spring a little bit here in just a minute. And then here's another unbelievable picture. This one from Books Airport. Again, East Roadway 24. Check it out. We got this very strange, again, the three orbs, right? Seeing it everywhere that we look. The next thing I wanted to take you to, though, was just fresh this morning. This comes from Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a subscriber that has some folks in the hospital there, and they have an 11th floor room looking out to the north. So what we're looking at is north, and I think it is like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning there at this time, right? What do we see in this picture on the north? We see 3 dots, 1, 2, 3 in a row, and we see a very bright light. Well, my first impression was that's the moon. That's just the moon, man. And so as this subscriber did a little bit more research for me, they went and found that the moon was at 2.6% waxing crescent. So I suppose it could make that light, but here's the problem, guys. The moon should be nowhere in the sky right now. The moon is not even raised yet. Let me show you on Solar System Scope. So when we see these bright lights out there, it makes us wonder what they are. It's not those clear photographs that we get all the time, but if you look to the north, you'll see there is no moon.
This is the object. It's a still shot of the object that I picked up from the northeast skies. Now, before the sunrise, I believe that this heavenly body is behind the sun because it's lit up, it's bright, it's reflecting, it's got like a red haze behind it and a yellow glow in front of it. Now, I'm going to show you some still shots as well because I'm going to roll the camera and I will play the raw footage. It's very short and then it disappears. So indeed it's worth a look, isn't it? Anything that's out there that's different and strange is just a worth to record these images. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to roll the video footage, okay? Just to show you what was caught. as you can see, it's going down the screen. If I just reverse this, this is what I caught this morning. Just roll the camera back again. Something there, isn't it? So I'm going to now just play the video just to get a shot of this again. Let me just play this for you. Okay, there's the raw edit just as it's moving across. You can see this, can't you? It's going across now. Here's the other video footage as well. You can see the red area as well on the sensor. Let me just here is the other part of the video as well. You can see it moving just. There's a clear shot of that with a red reflection behind it. Okay, what I've done is I've paused the video and I'm going to move it across the screen. I'm going to rotate it across the screen to show you that this object does actually move. There's many objects out there that are moving now. If I just roll it back, that is quite huge, isn't it? I mean, I can't give a size or a distance how far that object is. But what I can tell you now, that object is at the backside of the sun. It's lighting up. Because as the sun rises, it disappears. Now, I've checked the solar charts, and to the northeast skies, I can't see much of anything that should be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check something here for you. Okay, now we're with the solar chart this morning at the same timestamp. What we can see is the Earth, the Sun. We can see Mars to the far right hand side. What we're looking at, though, that is, to be very clear, is the asteroid belt in the distance. But to where I was pointing the camera to that object was to the area of the northeast. Now, to this side here, we look gently just around towards this area. I picked up this object around about here. Now, it clearly shows there's nothing there. We've got Venus there, we've got Mars. Could have been Jupiter, could have been anything, as I state. It could have been just another celestial body that's known to us in our solar system. But again, just picking up things is very, very important. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to now go back to that object that I spotted as well. Because, again, I just find it very, very important. Just wanted to show you this as well quickly, that Mercury is behind the backside of the Sun. You can see the reflections. You can see where the celestial body should be on this date, 25th of February. So indeed, these are covered up. Mars is too far to the right-hand side. Going to the next clip on this chart as well, you've got Jupiter that's to the far area to the right-hand side. To the view that we were looking at here, Sirius is far behind us. So indeed, these heavenly bodies now are in different areas of what I spotted. Can you see the shadows? This is where the known celestial bodies are in our solar system. Just to give you another view as well, we've got Saturn far to the right hand side here. We were looking around here. This area is clear. Is it something that's come through the Kuiper belt? Because it's moving on the video. Now, Saturn wouldn't be moving that quickly, nor would Mars and the other celestial bodies. But again, it could be explainable. So that's, again, just have a look at these different images from the footage. Okay, now I'm going to now show you the still pictures. This is Bluebonnet because, again, it's being picked up to the northeast. On the video as well, if you notice when this object appears and it does move, I see it move, okay? You can see stars in the background. There's 3 of them to the right hand side. Now, that object is quite worrying. It's quite big, isn't it? And it's out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll the camera like I just did earlier on, just to show you the different movements of this object. Can you see how it's going across the screen? Now the tripod isn't moving at all. It's just picking up the object. Now what I did was I left the camcorder on all night. I always keep it on in the northeast skies. I'm here in the northern hemisphere, and I went back to the recording. I was absolutely amazed to catch this. So indeed it does look very, very strange, doesn't it? There is the colours, there's the glow. I believe it's reflecting from the backside of the sun. There's other stars that are showing in the background as well. I do get people that state no stars. You're pointing a laser in the sky. Now I haven't got no laser, and indeed sometimes when you do record images up there in the heavens, when it's pitch black, when zooming in, the stars do disappear. It's just a fact where the images and videos that you produce just get very dark in the area when zooming into an object. This is what happens. Let me just show you a few more clippings of this image that I picked up. Okay, on this next still shot there's 3 objects. You can see the main object just below, but above there you've got another red object and a star or something else. It is indeed, again, whatever is being picked up has to be produced onto footage, because you can see clearly there is 3 objects on the screen there. When moving the camera to the next image as well, the still shot, behind this object again, you're picking still up these objects. Can you see there's 3 here, and the main celestial body that's down there at the bottom of the photograph. Just showing you again that object, that red object behind it there, is indeed with this object, or is it something else? It's very questionable, isn't it? Very debatable to what we're seeing. Here we have another still shot as well. Now there is a blue object behind it. Can you see just to the far left hand side? Is that the blue Kachina? Or is it something else? Because when videoing these objects, you can actually zoom into these as well and notice that they travel with these celestial bodies. Here is another still shot as well. You've got the blue celestial object that's to the left hand side. Could be just behind this object, and again you've got the celestial body just below. I'm just going through the different still shots just to show you as well that I'm picking up something else that's the other side, to the left side of the screen, out there, that was picked up. That blue celestial object again with this other large body that was picked up on the cam this morning. Okay, now what I've done is as well, looking at this as well, I'm going to zoom into these celestial bodies, these objects that were out there. There's a red and a blue one just to the upper left hand side, as picking up this celestial body just below. Let me zoom into these. Okay, now I'm hoping it's not too dark to see them 2 celestial objects. They were indeed out there, they were picked up as well. But again, it could be anything, but they do seem to travel with this celestial body, because when I'm videoing this object that's moving to the northeast before the sunrise, these 2 objects are moving with it. Okay, now with this system on this elliptical orbit, and looking at these images, do seem very strange, because now as I videoed the celestial body, a few moments later you can see it moving across the screen again. These other celestial objects behind it seem to be rotating. Can you see now, like on the other image, they were quite straight, weren't they? But now the red object behind is moving directly downwards to the 1 o'clock position, while the blue object is staying there as the other larger object is moving down. Now again, this other solar system that is tilting our solar system, tilting our sun, is and does cause a different rotation in their system. So again, it's just very interesting to pick up these images. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort out lots of photographs that have been sent in by members of our community showing the differences in our skies, because again, they are heavily chemtrailing. Here this morning, there's far too many lines in the skies. And I want to talk about the temperatures as well, because the temperatures are dropping drastically. For these past couple of months, it gets very, very cold. And then when they do chemtrail to cover the area of the sun, the temperatures start to rise. Now, with objects in our system, our solar system, that's affecting and heating up other planets, because again, global warming is a hoax, because other celestial bodies are heating up, there's evidence of this. But indeed now, are they cooling down at drastic rates because of our Earth is, and the temperatures are changing drastically. We can see this now, we can feel the temperatures changing, and it's important to remember this as well, as we do still see that red haze in the sky. Now, with the red haze, we are seeing it like clockwork. Okay, we see that pink haze cutting through like clockwork. Now, no chem plane can do that, spraying red spray in the skies like clockwork. They're just aeroplanes, okay? So something else is beaming through that's very red out there in our solar system, and it's showing itself and then disappearing before the sun down.
We know Planet X has been here before, and we have the ancient accounts of the Sumerians, Egyptians, Celts, and many more. They have all given us various different descriptions of the object. For example, in the ancient wisdom texts we publish called the Kolbrin Bible, the ancient Egyptians called it the Destroyer, whereas the ancient Sumerians called it Nibiru. Consequently, there are a lot of different ideas as to the nature of this object. In our February 2009 report, we discussed three possible variants: an asteroid-like object, comet-like object, and mini constellation. Until Planet X is officially observed, it could be anything, although we do know it is big. Otherwise, it would not be interacting with the other bodies in our system as it does. Each of these three variants has its own observation peculiarities, and these are exacerbated by the fact that this object is in a comet-like orbit. Regardless of what type of object Planet X turns out to be, one thing we do know is that it is in a comet-like orbit, and that makes it very unpredictable. A good example is comet Hale-Bopp. It was the most widely observed comet of the last century, and it was dubbed the Great Comet of 1997. At the time of its discovery in 1995, it was estimated to be in a 4,200-year orbit around our Sun. However, in 1996, it passed within 0.77 AU of Jupiter. To help put that in perspective, Venus orbits our Sun at a distance of approximately 0.72 AU. So, as a result of a 0.77 AU flyby past Jupiter, Hale-Bopp's 4,200-year orbit was shortened by 40% to just 2,533 years. How could this happen? Just as with Planet X, Hale-Bopp's orbit around our Sun is steeply inclined to the ecliptic, which makes it inherently unstable. And the substantial reduction in its orbit is explained by a theory called the Kozai mechanism. You can learn more about the Kozai mechanism on the internet, and it is covered extensively in our book Planet X Forecast and 2012 Survival Guide. As we've often pointed out in our book and on our websites, this object is in an unstable comet-like orbit. Simply stated, Planet X is a fast traveler, and its orbit is steeply inclined to the ecliptic. Ergo, Its orbital behavior is highly unpredictable and subject to change at any time. This will become even more pronounced as Planet X closes the distance between itself and our Sun. The closing distance between Planet X and the Sun is very important for us to consider. Now let's take another look at that first slide prepared by Jaco van der Warp. He currently estimates the distance between Planet X and the Sun to be 9.9 astronomical units. That is nearly twice the distance between Jupiter and the Sun. This is an important fact because comets are not typically observed until they're inside the orbit of Jupiter. They must come this close to the Sun before they develop a coma and tail. This in turn helps to also explain why Planet X is going to be difficult to observe at this time, assuming it is a comet-like object. To help give us a perspective on the Planet X transit through the southern skies, let's return to Jaco van der Warp's second slide. When we presented the second slide, the one where we are looking from the South Pole out into space, we're doing so at an angle of approximately 60 degrees up from the horizon. When we do so, our estimate places Planet X in the constellation of Pictor. The arcing line of the orbit suggests that Planet X will follow a steady, plodding course as it moves from left to right towards the constellation Vela. However, this is not the case because of two reasons. First, the manner in which the Earth rotates on its poles as it relates to our view of the night sky. And secondly, because Planet X is in a comet-like orbit that is steeply inclined to the ecliptic. We therefore estimate that by August 2010, Planet X will enter the constellation of Carina, where it will begin to speed up a bit, as is the case with comet-like orbits. During this time, the distance between Planet X and the Sun will be decreasing, while at the same time the angle of its orbit will be increasing. This decreasing distance and increasing angle will continue and even speed up as Planet X approaches the ecliptic. Assuming Planet X continues following this orbital path, regardless of what type of object it may be, the fact is it's going to be heading towards the Milky Way, and that creates a whole new kind of viewing problem. When viewing an object in the night sky, you must be able to differentiate between it and the star field behind it. To illustrate the complexity of this, let's assume that you are going to a candlelight vigil to meet a friend. You know what your friend looks like, and you know he or she will be holding a candle. But when you arrive, spotting your friend becomes a very difficult proposition. The same holds true with Planet X. At this time, it is about to pass through the most magnificent candlelight vigil, if you will, in our night sky, the Milky Way. With that in mind, let's return to our second image of the South Pole view. Here we see Planet X slowly making its way along its orbital path towards the constellation Vela. In this slide, we are showing you the position of Planet X relative to the South Pole point of view. Now, let's take the same panel slide and increase the brightness. The light gray area that runs through the right side of the image from the constellation Vela down through to the constellation Canis Major is the Milky Way. So not only is Planet X twice the distance from our Sun as Jupiter, It is passing through an area of the sky that receives less than 2% of our attention, and one with a very dense background star field at that. Ergo, what you've got is the proverbial Planet X needle in a cosmic haystack. So who will officially announce the discovery of Planet X? Certainly not some run-by fruiter with a cell phone. Rather, we believe that honor will most likely go to Project Wormwood, a planetary defense group at the Learmonth Solar Observatory, located on the northwest cape of Western Australia. Now let's move on to the most likely worst-case Planet X flyby scenario.